The sound of the drums and the sound of the shakeree means it's time for the Griot Story Circle. It's storytelling time, and I'm your storyteller, your griot, Sister Martha Ruff. And today, it's a good time to share stories. This is the time of the year when we get together with our family and friends and all kinds of events. And what better time to share some of your favorite stories? Here's some of my favorites. Some children and young people and young adults are getting out of school and they're singing the Hickory Stick Rag. This is a story poem, and I'm going to share some of it with you because it starts at the beginning of the year and it says, "Cross as two sticks, thin as a bean, we once had a school teacher, cranky and mean, and we made it all through the year, from hour to hour. She had us reading and writing and learning that knowledge is power. But we still were glad when slowly we crossed off the weeks of the year, when all of a sudden sweet summer was here. The sky was bright blue. We could hardly sit still for dreaming of strawberries out on the hill. At last, at long last, she dismissed us for good, and school was all through. And that isn't all. We had one more surprise, and this time we asked her to cover her eyes. With fanfare and flags, she was marched out the door, and we gave her a party and good things galore. A fancy round cake with roses on top, confetti and pinwheels and cold ginger pop. Then, leaping and laughing, we hurried away, shouting, "No more school! Hip, hip, hooray!" And that's part of the Hickory Stick Rag. And for those of you who are graduating, congratulations. For those of you who are getting the summer off, have a good time and share some stories. Well, family reunion is a good time to get together with your family. And some of them don't look the same as they did a whole year ago that you might have seen them. And some of them have new stories to share. One story that's my favorite is by Eloise Greenfield, and it's called Grandpa's Face. Now, Tamika loved her grandpa. He was an actor, and he was in plays. And Tamika would go and see him stand in front of an audience and say his lines. Grandpa lived with Tamika and her mother and father. So early one morning, when Tamika slowly pushed open Grandpa's door, she looked inside and saw him. He was talking out loud. He was practicing his lines. But something else scared her. That face, the face that Grandpa was making, it was so hard and mean and scary. And Tamika closed the door and ran away. All day long, Tamika thought about Grandpa's face. What if he made that face at her? She wouldn't think that he loved her if he did. That night at dinner, Tamika pushed her food around on her plate. She wasn't very hungry. "Finish your food, Tamika," said her mother. "Do you need to leave the table, Tamika?" asked her father. Tamika got so upset that she pushed over her glass and all of the juice flowed across the table and right onto Grandpa's shirt. "Tamika," said her grandpa, "what is going on?" Tamika left the room crying. Her grandpa followed her and he said, "Don't worry about my shirt. It seems to me we need to have a walk." That's what Tamika and her grandpa would do when he wanted to share things with her. And so he took her hand and they went walking. And he sat on the grass and asked her, "Tamika, something bothering you?" It took her a little while, but finally she said, "Your face, Grandpa." "My face?" said Grandpa. You made a mean face this morning when you were practicing your lines, and I don't want you to make that face at me." "Oh, Tamika," said her grandpa, "that's just pretend. That's just a face for when I'm in the play." "And you won't make that face at me?" asked Tamika. "Not ever," said her grandpa. "I love you." "I love you too, Grandpa." And so Tamika and Grandpa went back home, and Tamika dreamed about seeing her grandpa and that sturdy brown face and that smile that he would always give her. And she knew that that was the real grandpa that she always loved and would always love her. And that's what happened in Grandpa's Face by Eloise Greenfield. And you can read the whole story again. Well, the other thing that happens when you're away from your family for a year is that there are new children in the family, new babies. And this is a time of year when suddenly it's warm and we go outside and we see all the new babies that have been born over the winter. One way to see some beautiful babies is in this book, Brown Sugar Babies by Charles Smith. And he's a photographer. He took pictures of babies and he made them look like sweet brown sugar babies. And they are all colors from cinnamon to chocolate brown. And you'll want to read Brown Sugar Babies by Charles Smith. Now, one of my favorite stories is another story poem. It's by a famous poet named Paul Laurence Dunbar. Now, many of you have heard his name because there are lots of schools that are named after him. And there was a time when everybody knew a Paul Laurence Dunbar poem. Teachers taught it in school and children would remember it and recite it. And one of my favorite ones is about a baby, a little brown baby with sparkling eyes. And it says this: "Little brown baby with sparkling eyes, come to your papa and sit on his knee." "What you been doing, sir?" "Making sand pies." "Look at that bib. You's as dirty as me." "Look at that mouth. And that's molasses, I bet. Shh, be quiet, Bess. Bess going to catch you and eat you up yet, being so sticky and sweet. Goodness lands. Little brown baby with sparkling eyes, who's Papa's darling and who's Papa's child? Who is it all the time, never once tries for to be cross or to lose that smile? Oh, where'd you get them teeth? My, you's a scamp. Papa don't know you. I believe you some tramp or some straggler that's come in the door. Mama, this here straggler then got in the door. We don't want no stragglers lying around here. Let's give them away to the Booger Man. Booger Man, come in the door. Here's the bad boy you can have for to eat. Swallow him down from his head to his feet. There now. I thought that'd make you hug me up tight. Go away, oh Booger Man. You shan't have this boy. He's Papa's darling and he's Papa's joy. Come to your pallet now. Come to your rest. Wished you could always know ease and clear skies. Wished you could stay just a child on my breast. Little brown baby with sparkling eyes. And that's Little Brown Baby by Paul Laurence Dunbar, who was a very prolific poet and a novelist. He wrote poems and stories, and you'll want to read more of them. What's a favorite way to have a good time? One of those ways is dancing. And you'll want to see how Mirandy dances in this story called Mirandy and the Wind. Mirandy and Brother Wind is by Patricia McKissick, and it won the Caldecott Honor Award, and that's a special award for books and their illustrations. And this book was illustrated by Jerry Pinkney, and he has other award-winning books that he has illustrated also. And in Mirandy and Brother Wind, Mirandy is just learning how to dance, and she's getting ready for a big dance contest. Grandma, said Mirandy, I'm going to win the cakewalk dance tonight because I'm going to dance with the wind. Mirandy's grandmother laughed. Dance with the wind? And how are you going to do that? Everyone knows you can't catch the wind. Oh, but I'm going to, said Mirandy. Just you watch and see. And the wind is going to be my partner, and we're going to win the cakewalk contest. Now, the cakewalk was a special dance that you danced and swirled around and twirled around, and if you were the best one, you would win a cake. All right, said Grandma to Mirandy, but you better go get started now. The dance is tonight. As Mirandy was leaving the house, she bumped into Easel. What are you doing? She said, get out of my way. Where are you going so fast, Mirandy? Asked Easel. I'm going to catch the wind. He's going to be my partner tonight for the cakewalk contest. Well, Easel tried hard not to show his disappointment because he thought he was going to be Mirandy's partner. How are you going to do that? He asked. You just wait and see, she said. And Mirandy went to see the smartest person she knew. That was Old Lady Cora. And when she found her, she asked her, "How can I catch the wind to be my partner tonight for the cakewalk?" "Well," Miss Cora said, "that's not an easy thing to do, but one way would be to put some pepper in the wind's footprints. And then when he's walking, that pepper will blow up in his face and he'll start sneezing and you'll be able to throw a quilt over him and catch him. And here's a quilt you could use." "Thank you so much," said Mirandy. And she took the quilt and she had some pepper. And as the wind began, she threw out the pepper and waited for the wind to sneeze, and the wind was gone before the sneeze even got out, and the quilt just went landing on the ground. That didn't work. Well, there's one other person that might be able to help her because she had magic. Mirandy went down to the river and to a small solitary house where the conjure woman lived. Said the conjure woman, "What are you doing down here, Mirandy? Your folks don't believe in conjuring." "No, ma'am, but I thought if you wouldn't mind, you might help me catch the wind so he could be my partner for the cakewalk contest." "Well, if you're brave enough to come down here, I'll give you a little bit of help," she said. And she went in her drawer and pulled out a bright colored scarf, and she put it around Mirandy's neck. And as the scarf went around her neck, some magical words were in Mirandy's mind. "How'd you do that?" "Go along, child," said the conjure woman. And Mirandy left. And as she did, the wind went by her and blew that scarf from around her neck and went right into the hen house. Quick as she could, Mirandy closed the door to the hen house and said, "I got the wind. I got the wind locked up in the hen house. And now the wind has to do my bidding." Because everybody knows if you catch the wind will give you one wish. "Okay, now," said Mirandy, "do I wish for the wind to be my partner? Or is it a second wish if I wish to win the contest?" Mirandy didn't know what to do. And as she turned around, there was Easel. But not only was there Easel, there were her friends, and they were making fun of Easel. "Why are you making fun of him?" Mirandy asked. "He thinks he's going to be in the cakewalk contest," said her other friends. "Look at how clumsy he is." "Don't make fun of Easel," said Mirandy. "He's my friend." And the other girls went away. And Easel said, "Thank you, Mirandy. I'll see you tonight at the cakewalk contest." And as he left, Mirandy knew exactly what her wish was going to be. That night, everyone was dressed in their finest clothes, and it was time for the cakewalk contest. And at the front of the line was Mirandy and Easel, and they were dancing, swirling and whirling, and looking just like their feet weren't touching the ground, because they weren't. Mirandy's wish had come true, and her grandmother could see it. She said, Look at Mirandy and Easel. They are dancing like they're dancing on the wind. And they were. And they won the contest. And that's what happened to Mirandy and Brother Wind. And you'll want to read that award-winning story by Patricia McKissick, illustrated by Jerry Pinkney. Well, you must have a favorite story, whether it's your family story or whether it's a story that you have made up. Share it, tell it, because you're a griot, you're a storyteller, and your story needs to be shared. Thank you for joining the circle today, and I hope we'll see you next time on the Griot Storytelling Circle.